Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. Are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down. It's time to talk more Snyder Cut. I want you to think about this, everyone. I really want you to think about this. The best person to lead a movie franchise is a director. Zack Snyder is a director, and he was leading the DCEU in a brilliant way, because he would respect the creative freedom of his fellow directors. He would let them do their own movies, but just get them to put the connectivity to the rest of the DCEU in their movies. We've seen evidence of this from Batman v Superman to David Ayer's Suicide Squad, when they're constantly talking about Superman's death. We see Batman. It was beautiful and it worked. The box office was great. Should have been ignored all the pundits, all the bloggers and all the critics, because it would have got better and better. But Warner Brothers didn't hold their nerve, and now we're here fighting for the Snyder Cut. So I found a YouTube channel, no, not my own, Prime76. And about 4 days ago, he put this video together full of footage of SnyderCon and Kevin Smith's video he did quite a few, I think last year sometime, when he was talking to that person who'd seen a test screening. Now, all this information is not new, but I just want to discuss it. So I'm going to play this, so you'll be hearing the audio, and I'll be interrupting it, just giving my 2 pennies worth about the situation. So should we go?
We're here. Megan?
Hi, Zach. First, I just wanted to personally thank you for all the work that you're doing for suicide prevention. It's really important to me.
Yeah, get on with it.
I guess I'm going to be the first person to throw out that awkward question about Justice League, which is basically...
Sure, what about it?
So, David Ayer...
Was it fun to make?
So David Ayer came out and...
David Ayer, okay.
He came out and he talked a little bit more about the early process, about how in Suicide Squad, originally, their villain was going to be Steppenwolf, and they're going to be fighting parademons and stuff like that, and he also released it, and also you on Instagram released an image of Darkseid and stuff like that. So I guess my question is kind of, what the hell happened?
It's a good question.
And what was going to happen?
It's a fair question. David's prize. I'm not sure about that what David's talking about with the. I mean, look, Steppenwolf's in this movie, which was anyway. I mean, you saw him in this movie, so how? Oh, Granny Goodness. Oh, it could have been Granny Goodness. That might have been cool. I don't remember him talking about that, but that could have been cool. Granny Goodness that's also crazy and fun. But yeah, so look, there was a lot of great conversations that I had with David about, even just getting our Batman in and getting our Flash in Suicide Squad to try and start doing that a little bit. But we were also not incredibly. We didn't want to go too crazy with it. At the same time, we were trying to be and the idea was that the different directors would kind of have their take, and we try and just support each other so that it could mesh up, but at the same time not force anyone into a decision maybe they didn't want to make. Right? That makes as best you can. It's hard sometimes because you're like, look, I need Steppenwolf because he's the bad guy, or one of the bad guys in this movie. So anyway, so those are the conversations that we had, and I thought that everyone was doing a really pretty good job as we went forward, and Patty was awesome because she had to take my photo, and put it in her movie, and we had to work out how that happened because we shot. So we had a placeholder photo for a long time that Steve Berkman, who is a teacher at this school and who shot both photos, took. Because even before we had a script for Wonder Woman, you know, we didn't know, we weren't sure when that movie was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And so we had, just based on our story, we had taken a picture of Wonder Woman in an ancient war with, you know, a team of soldiers, very similar to the one that ended up in her movie. Now, there was an actual story built around the one that she has in her movie. And so that was I thought that was that was like the best case scenario, right? So what about it? You mean like how she used it or how it evolved? The Wonder Woman theme was written specifically for this movie because when we wrote the theme for Wonder Woman in this movie, there wasn't a Wonder Woman movie yet. So you can imagine that. And then it was up to Patty whether she wanted to use it or not, right? And I think it's in the movie. So yeah, so she was like, yeah, cool. And I think Hans is doing now Wonder Woman 84. So that's a good relationship. That's nice. So that's, I think, the best case scenario for how the whole thing could work. And
so that is the interconnectivity that I'm talking about. The picture of Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor and the other guys in Batman v Superman, and it links into Wonder Woman. It was interconnected. It was like the MCU, but the tone was different. It doesn't have to be. What's this law about all superhero movies having to be like the MCU because they make $1 billion a movie? It's ridiculous. What Zack was doing was awesome. It was working. It was brilliant. And by the way, he's a producer on Wonder Woman 84. This is really interesting. This movie's been delayed till next year. Look, nothing's done yet. Zack isn't off the DCEU for good yet. Because if we get the Snyder Cut, anything's possible. Because if the mainstream like the Snyder Cut, as I say, and bloggers and critics actually change their minds, and they have been likely to do so before, look, anything's possible. So I love the original interconnectivity with the DCEU. Listen, they should have let the man do his thing, right? He was going on a good direction. The money they were getting back was good, was solid. Was it what they wanted? No, especially with BVS, a film with Batman v Superman in it. They wanted a couple of billion. It's obvious, but it didn't happen. But at the end of the day, they held their nerve. And I know it was difficult for them. It really was. So we continue this.
As far as, listen. No. What I was going to say is that, like, look, when this movie came out, understand that we had written, Chris Terry and I had finished the script for Justice League before this movie came out, right? So that script was done.
Now, when he says this movie, this was part of SnyderCon where they sat down and watched the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So basically, let's get this straight here, because I didn't actually realise this before when the news came out after SnyderCon. They'd actually written their original script, Zack and Chris Terrio, for Justice League before they did BVS. Now, that's interconnectivity. That's brilliant. That's a shared universe. That is awesome. But now listen to what he says next.
The movie came out, and some people didn't like the movie. A vocal minority. And so I was asked by the studio to, like, say, hey, you can't, there's a lot of stuff we don't want you to do from that script. So we did a rewrite, right, of the script. So the original Justice League that Chris and I wrote, we didn't even shoot. I mean, there's a lot of it that we shot, but the actual idea, the hard idea, the scary idea, we never filmed.
Now, this is interesting, right? So at first he says the original script was never shot. Well, we shot some of it. So they shot some of the original from that original script. but not the scary, scary stuff. So there's elements there that you could actually add on to the Snyder Cut, their original Snyder Cut that everyone's fighting for now. That's very, very interesting to me.
Because the studio was like, that's crazy. And we were so insecure at the time after this movie came out, we were just like, I guess it is crazy. Like, we're fucking nuts. Like, what are we... There's gonna be mass hysteria in the streets if we film this. Apparently... Great. All right. It's a long story. But suffice it to say, that, like, so look, the truth is that, you know, the nightmare sequence in this movie, right, was always my idea that all of that would be eventually explained, of course. I mean, is that a surprise? You know, that we would end up in the distant future where Darkseid has taken over Earth and where Superman has succumbed to the anti-life and where he and now with his ragtag band, and there was a few members of the Justice League that had survived to that world and that they were fighting to try and you know, so Batman's with the broken half a cyborg because, you know, it's only half of him because of whatever happened. They were working on equation to jump flashback to tell Bruce, you know, obviously, you guys aren't surprised because you know this is what I've read it.
So now that you know this, don't tell
I'm
anybody.
just, nice. Anyway, so those were the things that we were dealing with, and not to say that the studio still, you know, they were still into sort of the big look, but the details of how and why everyone was mad at each other or what, that was the stuff where they were a little bit like, because, you know, Lois, you know, and it's in the little teaser where the Justice League teaser that wasn't in the movie apparently, where I guess where Wonder Woman says it's this line where Bruce says, "I was right here, and Barry Allen came to me and he said Lois Lane is the key," right? And then she goes, "He is the Superman. Every heart has one." And he goes, "I think it's something more, something darker," right? And what it means is that the thing that was darker was that, you know, it was all about if Lois died, Superman would succumb to the anti-life, of course, right? And if
the more I listen to, the more annoyed I get. Not at Zach. Him and Chris Terrio came up with something amazing. The whole plan from the very beginning was amazing. It was unique. It was different. But oh no, it has to be like the MCU. Everybody has to smile. And this is the problem. It's that, and I don't want to keep on saying that kind of authoritarian Nazi-like mentality, but it is. Every film has to be like the MCU. That's the only thing that works. I just want to go to a film and have fun. I had fun with Man of Steel. I had fun with BVS. I cried as well, but I want to cry. But isn't it funny, Infinity War is like the darkest superhero movie. Infinity War is like darker than BVS. And everyone goes, oh, Infinity War is just the best movie ever. It's just so... People have got their blinders on. But when it came to BVS, right? When it came to BVS, too dark, too depressing. DC taking themselves too seriously. It's like one rule for us and another rule for them. We continue.
If Superman knew that somehow it was Bruce's responsibility to protect Lois, he would have been mad at him in this movie, right? Like, so that's why he says, "She is my world, and you took her from me." So that was sort of and then of course he has to jump back. And the other thing that we were working on was this idea that Cyborg said to Bruce in the distant future, like, there's two windows. We had come up with this time traveling concept where basically the way the time traveling window worked is that it's not awesome physics and doesn't make any sense, but that you had to jump, you had to do a time jump when the Earth was in relatively the same spot, right? Because if you did a time jump and the Earth wasn't like in the same position in space, you would jump into space and just be like dead. And so, okay, so there's always like, so they had 2 windows, right, to do the jump. And Cyborg says, like, what, which of these 2 windows do you think we should use? And Bruce was like, well, what window would you have put me through if you didn't ask? And he's like, this one. And then he's like, use the other one. Because that one you already did, and it was the wrong one. Barry Allen was in my freaking Batcave yelling at me about, like, nonsense. So you need to put him through that other one, because that's the one that will...
You see, that's brilliant. And everyone says there's no humour in the DCEU, but this is kind of taking a poke at the criticism of that scene and not making sense in BVS. I really like that. Really smart.
Because he had to jump right before Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave to murder Lois, so you have to, like... Anyway, so that was the window that he had to, like... Anyway.
All right, so I'm just going to say that right there, easily worth another 100.
It's in the future.
There you go.
I mean, all I'm saying is that, you know,
was what WB cut out dialogue by the Green Lantern, Zeus, and Ares. Yes, God.
I'm just putting this back a bit.
Circled something.
Well, I just listened. It's just, I've just got to get through this, right? But basically, right, it's amazing what Zach said at that convention, and I know everybody knows about it now.
214.
Director of photography? No, it was a break.
Right. I finally found it. That's cool. I should have paused it and be a bit more professional. But anyway, it's amazing what Zach said at SnyderCon. And that information is brilliant because that the NDA really doesn't cover that. He's just talking about his own work. We were going to do this. We were going to do that. Loads of directors talk about that all the time. So it's brilliant. But what he came out with and said, well, the studio, Warner Brothers, didn't want us to do this. I don't know if the NDA covers that. It's very, very interesting. NDAs normally cover things about things you don't want to spoil, but obviously things that go on behind the scenes that the studio doesn't want the public to know. But Zach's been really, really clever. He's used actors who support him to come out and talk on his behalf. He's got us riled up. Listen, I think this is the first time since The Passion of the Christ that a director's rebelled against a studio, and it's actually working. This could lead to the release of the Snyder Cut. And what Zack Snyder's done is amazing. Now, this is a really, really old video from 2018. Now, this is Fat Man on Batman. What's his name? Kevin Smith. That's it. I always say Will Smith. Obviously, big difference between the two. But this is very, very interesting. Now, Kevin covers a lot of things that were cut out in this from the Snyder Cut, and then basically cut out from the theatrical version. And let's give this a listen and let me tell you what I think about it all.
Breakdown of what's missing from the movie. Everything. Read Zack Snyder's version and all deleted scenes. Oh, come on. Don't freeze up on me now. Oh, my God. Hold on. Yeah, fuck. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Read Zack Snyder's version and all. I'm not going to read you the script, but these scenes were done before reshoots and were shown to WB executives. Let me see. AKA the writer says the idiots who don't appreciate art. I mean, the piece comes from Superhero Talk site, so WordPress.com. So obviously it's written by Haroon Sharif, and he's got opinions, to say the least. But most importantly, we're not here for the opinions. We're here for what he knows. He said the opening was longer, began with Bruce recruiting Aquaman. It was basically the same scene In the theatrical version, however, some lines were added by Whedon and some Zack bits were cut. Aquaman was originally more resilient and shut off to Bruce here. Deleted. Barry Allen saving Iris West by breaking the glass. Remember that shot of him poking through the glass? Apparently there's a whole fucking scene of him saving Iris West, meeting Iris West. Gone. Longer. History lesson, but just by some bits. What I was most surprised by, the author says, was what WB cut out dialogue by the Green Lantern, Zeus, and Ares. Yes, Ares was there too. So on the battlefield, when they flashed back and shit, that Green Lantern said something, and so did Zeus and so did Ares. They cut all that shit. They had a couple lines each, as did Robin Wright, who was in the movie, and Hippolyta as well. Hippolyta we saw.
Credited. Like, Robin Wright's credited.
Even though she's nowhere to be seen in the movie. Well, they shot it. They just kept the...
This is interesting. Robin Wright is actually credited, but a lot of the actors that we know about now, like the Darkseid actor, isn't actually credited. I think it's because Hippolyta is actually, you see her in a little bit of the Justice Cut version of Justice League, and maybe that's it, but it's still outrageous. And when you think about the history lesson, and you think about people's dialogue being cut out like Ares, like the Green Lantern of that time, it's absolutely despicable, and it makes no narrative sense. Why would you cut out? It just proves you that Sujihara proves to you this is Sujihara. No way would Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns has written so many Green Lantern graphic novels. He loves Green Lantern. Jeff Johns would not do this, and this is why I keep on telling you people, stop attacking Jeff Johns. This is down to Sujihara. I'm disgusted.
Action in and clicked out all the dialogue. Deleted. After taking the mother box from Themyscira, Steppenwolf actually talks to the box. His mother, Hegra's essence, is alive in the mother boxes and bringing them all together.
This is ridiculous, right? Because in Zack's cut of Justice League, they actually explain what Steppenwolf's going on about when he's kind of talking about his mother, you know? And, you know, in the theatrical cut, it makes absolutely no sense. It's not explained. But in this film, you'd understand what the hell he's going on about. That he wants to free his mother so he can, literally, he wants to get out of Darkseid's grip, Iron Fist, if you like. And that is all explained in the Snyder Cut. Look, it's just, look, I've never seen a situation like this in all my life watching films in the past 30 years.
Unleash her powers, finally giving Steppenwolf an edge over his uncle Darkseid. That is what his plan was originally. I thought for sure they would keep that scene because they used dialogue from that scene in the trailers where he said, "No protectors here, no lanterns, this world will fall." It was part of that scene, but they cut that out. Deleted. Cyborg's previous life. He plays a great football match that his mother attends. Afterwards, they drive home. Victor is angry that his dad never made it. While his mother tries to console him, Victor just keeps getting angrier and lashing out, loses control of the car, causes a fiery crash. So that's how he got injured, and his mom got killed in the process. Longer. The Gordon scene up on the roof had a little setup that I didn't see in the theatrical version. Gordon dismisses a junkie and tells him to get better at life before another cop comes to him with drawings of the parademons. Remember when he said that? And he said, when he first met Wonder Woman, he asked if she's the same woman he keeps seeing reports in London about. Then he asked Cyborg, "How do you eat? Do you even need to?" And they cut all that. Deleted. After the attack on Atlantis, Aquaman consults with Mira and Volko. So, what's his name? Willem Dafoe is playing Volko. They had a whole fucking scene where they talk about what they should do next. Mira wants Arthur to stay as king because she, quote, doesn't trust Orm. So they fucking name-dropped Orm and they cut that shit out. Volko wants him to do what his heart says. Aquaman confesses that he feels a responsibility to help the people of Earth. So there's some more backstory on Atlantis other than him going, "Well, I'm going to need something from you," which I guess is the suit of he was wearing or the Quinden or whatever. Yeah. Wasn't it trying to...
Basically, yeah, that was Aquaman in Justice League. Yay! That was Joss Whedon's idea for Aquaman. Now, I love what... Jason sold everything, right, in that Justice League theatrical cut because Jason's brilliant and Jason's a rock star. But it's just ridiculous to cut that stuff out. That Aquaman-linked stuff is just ridiculous. It just gives more interconnectivity, which is what Zack was doing with the DCEU.
Though it has 5 So was that a quindent? Pentadent? Quindent, right? Okay, deleted. The League visits the Batcave. Alfred has humorous reactions to the League. Bruce, so Alfred, like, just going, oh shit, they cut all that. Bruce Wayne talks about a nightmare he had. He believes that Steppenwolf will try to resurrect the power of Superman, and then they must do it first, unless they want to fight an evil Kryptonian too. So they were beating Steppenwolf to reviving Superman, which makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Change. Superman's resurrection was only possible because Cyborg detects foreign genetic material in his DNA, a.k.a. the Codex. Remember the Codex from Man?
They were going to drop the Codex in this film. They were going to mention it as the reason Superman can come back. You know, going back to important stuff they did in Man of Steel, and they cut all of that out. I mean, this is absolutely despicable. And if Sujihara wasn't fired, I would set up a petition to get him fired.
Steel, that was playing as part of the plot. That's gone. This is the final confirmation needed that Superman can be brought back to life after all. Then the revival happens pretty much the same. Deleted. This is in the middle of the fucking movie. Ready for this? Deathstroke breaks Lex out of prison. Why the fuck would you cut that out? Oh my God, I question everybody's sanity. They part ways because the cops are hot on their trail, deciding to meet up later at a location they discussed, which was the PS scene on the fucking boat. Deleted. Kent Farm. Now this sounds like they butchered the shit out of this. Superman brings Lois here. However, he is still very confused after he wakes up, not knowing what's happening. Bystanders are looking at him and clicking his photo. This confuses him further, and he actually tries to attack the civilians with laser eyes before Lois manages to calm him down. Superman tells her that the voices won't shut up. Later, Martha shows up, and she does a version of her. Remember, she did in Man of Steel, where she's like, "You're on an island. You hear the sound of my voice." She talks it down again, which ties in to the other fucking movie. They took out all.
This is outrageous. You know, lots of links back to Man of Steel. This is emotionally important, and they cut it. They cut it so Superman can grin a bit. Despicable.
Shit to tie back, which I think was like that's part of the vision. It makes me a little mad. Kevin Costner was also in the movie. Pa Kent was also on the fucking farm in some fantasy sequence. They cut that shit out. Pa Kent talks about embracing who you really are and says, you know what, maybe you could have saved me after all. No, I just added that part. Also, there's plenty of room on this door, Jack. He tells Clark that you have to make peace with who you are. You have the power to change the world, and you can do that as anyone, good character or bad. Clark finally embraces Superman as part of him when Lois walks out. Clark confirms their engagement. Lois breaks down because she wasn't strong enough. Then Martha comes out, too, as Clark decides to help the League, and he flies off. That's how it happened in the version they saw. Deleted. Clark heads up to meet Alfred and get his suit. Remember the fucking shot from the trailer where Alfred's like, thank God you're here. Let's hope you're not too late. That's what it was. He came to get his fucking suit. That's gone. Deleted. Steppenwolf's second conversation with Hegra. Now that he has all three mother boxes, her return to this world can begin. So she actually speaks at that point. 14, they said change. Bruce's conversation with Diana after Superman returns. Diana comes in to pop Bruce's shoulder and tend to his injuries. Remember that? Bruce reveals that he's willing to die to save the world. In fact, that he deserves to die because of what he's done. He's killed people, and nothing, not even his hate for Superman, can justify killing like that. Holy shit, man. Like, that's something every Batman fan wanted to hear based on Superman and Batman v Superman. We're like, he's killing motherfuckers and branding them like crazy. So they actually made up for it, but boom, that got stripped out. Diana tells him he's changed now, but Bruce remains adamant that he can only atone himself by sacrificing his life. Changed. Bruce's Batmobile is heading to certain death before the finale when Wonder Woman and Aquaman interfere and save his life. They tell him that dying in battle won't do anything and he must live to keep the fight going. So we had a suicidal, crazy fucking Batman who was like, I gotta make up for being such a shithead in the last movie. And they cut it out. Alternate ending, we were shown, this guy said he saw a version of the movie. Cyborg tries to separate the mother boxes while Hegra keeps trying to talk him away. Furious, Steppenwolf grabs Cyborg and rips him apart, essentially killing him. That's not in the movie. Didn't he rip him, though? I saw him,
Pulls his leg off.
Pulls his leg off.
Yeah.
In this version, he just fucking shredded him.
And this woman is nodding in the corner because this is probably the same version that she
This is the
saw.
version that you saw a long time
that
ago?
she couldn't talk about last week because there's NDAs and shit. This motherfucker's all over the web.
I promised them I wouldn't talk today, but yeah, most of that stuff was in there.
That's the version that you saw.
I
Fuck,
saw
man.
that, and I saw the other version too.
The one that's out now?
Yes.
And in terms of seeing them both, what do you think?
I like the first one better.
I mean, at least it's all one vision, right? That's, again, they should put out that fucking movie. Changed. Superman joins the fight and teams up with the League to defeat Steppenwolf. However, at one point, Steppenwolf tries to tempt Superman into joining his army. Ready for this? This made me so fucking angry. And we see Darkseid for the first time in Superman's vision, and we see...
What kind of a numpty? What kind of baked bean balls? Yeah, that's a new term. That's a new word. What kind of baked bean balls, right? Cuts this awesome stuff. I tell you who, someone who knows nothing about DC Comics. A president, a bureaucrat. Not Jeff Johns. Not Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns would have cut this stuff out. Darkseid in a Justice League movie. Are you being serious? This is ridiculous. As I say, Sujihara deserved to go. Well done, AT&T. We know why you really got rid of him, and you did the right thing.
Flashes of the nightmare footage that Batman had in Batman v Superman. However, Superman snaps back out of it and delivers the final blow to defeat Steppenwolf. Was that in the version you saw? You saw Darkseid?
Yes, there was a Darkseid in there.
What did it look like?
Kind of like the finish, but not really.
Not fully finished.
No, like dressed in a suit, kind of.
God damn it. Deleted. Steppenwolf is killed by Darkseid on Apocalypse. You didn't see that? Darkseid intends to come to Earth to meet the Kryptonian, he says. You remember they were talking about doing 2 Justice Leagues?
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, part 2 was going to be fucking this. Now we're finding out they were setting it up for Darkseid. Deleted. Aquaman meets Mira off the village coast and agrees to come back. Barry steps into the library. Iris smiles at him. So there's a little PS for everybody. Deleted. Bruce and Barry place Victor's body in the Batcave. Bruce comments that his organic tissue is dead, but it may be possible to reignite his mechanical parts. Barry promises to help however he can. So fucking, did Cyborg die in your version?
No.
He didn't die in your version. Deleted. Lois introduces Perry White to Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman. So he was in the movie as well. The original after-credits scene that was shot in principal photography was Bruce being woken in the night in his lake house by a green light. I'm with you, fuck it. By a green light and being visited by Tomar Ray and Kilowog. Holy fuck. It was cut early on during post. Come on, man. So that right there, like, yes, I think they should release that version, even if it's unfinished, even if they're like, I think this public is educated enough to be like, look, it's an unfinished film. They're not going to give us it's not going to look like a big budget movie. Some shit's going to be in final stages. They can even put in like storyboard frames if they have to. But let people see that version. Clearly the dude had a vision. It sounds like it tied in well with Man of Steel and with Batman v Superman. Like each one, it seemed like they tried to course correct along the way. And I know it wasn't originally conceived as a trilogy, but they kind of got it to be one, it sounds like, until the Joss Whedon stuff. Which, again, I'm not shitting on the Joss Whedon stuff. I love that fucking Wonder Woman lasso scene. And that's only there because of that guy. But that shit sounded like a DC comic fan's wet dream, man. That they're like, here's Darkseid, motherfucker. You know, oh my God. Now I'm angry. Anyway, do you think they'll release it?
I think they absolutely release it. I mean, I have 8 versions of Evil Dead 2 at home.
So, this is not on Star Wars Time or Done.
Okay.
It's always at fucking lunchtime and shit. Mm-hmm. But I got to hang out with a lot of people, and you know, people are like, oh shit, you'll love this. So you get to find out some fucking shit that you don't ever read about or hear about from other players involved, but you forget there's all these below-the-line people that are like, oh, no, I was there, and I heard some shit, and I saw some shit. Regardless of what they did, I know what happened. Ooh, yes. I met people who worked on both versions of Justice League.
Oh.
Isn't that fucked up? Yeah. Let me tell you the things that I learned. This is what I heard about Justice League, which I thought was adorable, and I'm so mad we didn't think of it first. They called it Justice League when Snyder was doing it, Zack Snyder. When Joss Whedon came in to take over, they called it Justice League.
Right? It was right there. How did none of us know? Oh, that's glorious.
Really fucking good. This is what I heard about Justice League, according to folks that worked on both versions. They saw Jim Lee breakdown boards for all 3 Justice League movies.
Wow. Really?
First movie was kind of what we saw. Fighting Steppenwolf, meeting Steppenwolf. Then, like, the fucking boom tube opened up, and they saw Darkseid, and Darkseid saw them. There was a mini scuffle or not, depending on who you're talking to. Boom tube closes, that's the end of the fucking movie. With them all knowing there's something out there and we have to go. Justice League 2 was going cosmic as they take the fight to Apocalypse and New Genesis, presumably, but we know Apocalypse. And the Lantern Corps was involved. Because do you remember that shot of Alfred going like, thank God you're here. Let's hope you're not too late. And everyone was like, oh, that's Superman because the S is the hope and shit like that. Guy I met and talked to who worked on the set was like, we had green lights that were flashing on Jeremy Irons to project a green glow. I said, why? He goes, because it was Green Lantern. Can you fucking imagine? But then things changed in production.
What was the third movie?
The third movie was 2 ends poorly, like Empire Strikes Back or Infinity War. So they go to space and get fucking defeated, and Darkseid goes to Earth and levels it. So the vision that Batman had in Batman v Superman, like, you know, of the fucking scorcher, which one was that? Was it BVS or?
Yeah.
Yes, where he saw the fucking scorched earth and
parademons and all that shit.
That was going to be the entire third movie. The hero's last stand against Darkseid and the forces of Apocalypse. Holy fuck! And then it went away. So it went from 3 movies to 2 to now just the one.
To half a one?
I really feel like hearing what I heard, we might have missed something. Might have missed something big.
Yeah. No, I mean, that version of it is a little bit more interesting to me than the version we got.
There was a vision. It was planned out. They had a beat where he saw, like, Jim Lee drew it out. He's like, so you could see, and these cats are in special effects, so they had to be able to, like, what are we doing? So, yeah.
3 Justice League movies. I've discussed this before, but I just wanted you to listen to the evidence, so you're not just thinking I'm just saying this stuff. 3 epic Justice League movies. So Justice League 1 is literally the Snyder Cut, right? Justice League 2 is cosmic. They go to Apocalypse and they fight Darkseid. Then in the third one, they get their butts beaten in, and Darkseid levels Earth, and kind of the nightmare sequence from BVS is kind of verified. Would have been awesome. Would have been awesome. But no. Kevin Sugihara wouldn't allow it. And this is where we are now. This is where we are now. The man, Zack Snyder, was developing something so amazing, so stunning, so compelling, and they trampled on it. So now we are where we are. And we ain't got no choice, have we? This is what, we're on to a new direction now. We'll see what Wonder Woman 1984 is. But what the man was orchestrating, what the man Zack Snyder was orchestrating was amazing. was beautiful, was stunning. And we, the consumer, were robbed of it. We weren't asked. We weren't asked by the studio. They decided we're just like little children who are too stupid to make our own decisions. And basically, because of a bunch of idiots who didn't like BVS and MOS, we were robbed. I tell you what, everyone would have loved those 3 Justice League movies. Look at it. Look at Infinity War. Feige did it. Feige did it. Feige had a really dark MCU movie in Infinity War, and nobody said anything. But Warner Brothers decided, or Kevin Sugihara, that they needed to be like the MCU. And that film, Justice League, is an embarrassment. An embarrassment. They destroyed something special. And this is what I'm saying to you. The Snyder Cut becomes more and more important when you listen to that. If we get the Snyder Cut and people react positively to it, who's to say we can't get those other 2 movies made? It's up to me, it's up to you to keep on fighting the good fight. And I'll speak to you next time.